Hey there thinkers, welcome back to Critical Hit. My name is Est. So picture this, if you will. You get your hands on an early copy of a super controversial game and you think, I will just be honest with my review. Well, bad idea. It turns out if you're too honest, the developer slams the door on future review copies for you. So meanwhile, other creators are falling over themselves to call it the most stunning and brave yada yada game in existence, and they're practically swooning, calling it the best thing they've ever played, and labeling anyone without review copies as grifters. Which is hilarious because they're the ones practically begging for those codes. So word on the street is that some gamers who dared to be real about their experiences were swiftly cut off. So note to self, if you're not down to play corporate cheerleader, don't expect a golden ticket for the next big release. Big surprise, right? I mean, that's why we call it access media. A lot of YouTubers are hyping Dragon Age The Veil, however, not necessarily out of love for the game. Though sure, a few might actually like it, but that's because they just want to keep cozy with the developers. Like, the fake enthusiasm, you can see it from like a mile away. And as for the brave souls who dared to give real critiques, so the word is that their golden ticket for review codes has been pulled for good. However, I have a few things to say here, but before I do, we have a small request. If you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button, smashing that like, and ring the bell to be notified for our next video. We would greatly appreciate this, since this will help us appease those YouTube algorithm gods. So we thank you. Now, let me give you our thoughts on this, and now let's jump into an article from That Park Place, Dragon Age The Veilguard, described as piece of garbage and the tombstone of BioWare. So, the Spanish-speaking streamer Natalya Sirinova blasted Dragon Age The Veilguard after obtaining a review copy by allegedly informing the company that she was a non-binary woman. I mean, it really looks like she cracked the code to game reviews here. Like, just throw in some identity politics and voila! Oh my gosh, instant access to a review copy. Like, who knew that the key to critiquing Dragon Age The Veilguard was all about playing the game of labels? It's like she found the cheat code for the review process, and I guess the actual quality of the game doesn't really matter as much as fitting into the right box these days. Like, talk about prioritizing the wrong metrics here. In an initial post to X, as translated via Google's auto-translate function, Siri NOA wrote, "Guess who got a review code from the Dragon Age The Veilguard? BioWare just sold his soul to the devil. I just had to say I was a non-binary woman and they gave it to me. So get ready for a mega review soon or tomorrow." I mean, wow, talk about a bold strategy. Like, who knew that all it took to snag a review code was a little identity twist? It seems like BioWare is practically giving away their souls these days. Of note, Siri NOA's comments come in a wake of YouTubers WolfartFPS sharing that creators who were negative about the game during the initial playtest were not given review codes for the full game. He wrote on X, 3 creators, myself included, were a bit more critical than others with our hands-on time with Dragon Age The Veilguard. Not a single one of us will be given a review code, with time to actually give opinions before release. Just thought I would throw that out there. I don't know guys, it's almost like being honest about a game isn't the ticket to the exclusive review club. Like, who knew? These creators should have just fawned over Dragon Age The Veilguard like a puppy begging for treats to get that golden ticket. Like, honestly, it seems like the only requirement for getting a review code these days is to wear rose-colored glasses and ignore any flaws. Like, who needs integrity when you can just play nice, right? I guess that's the real lesson here. So praise it or prepare to be ghosted. In a subsequent post, he added, "Please keep in mind, folks, that this does not mean that my more critical opinion is better or more truthful than those who have been more positive. I'm just simply pointing out how marketing works. This also doesn't mean that the game will be bad, but it's just something to consider." He also pushed back in response to YouTuber Kayla Elizabeth, knowing that individuals who gave positive reviews did not get review copies as well. She wrote, "There were also people who were very positive and were also at the event who didn't get review copies also. I definitely think that you guys should have been given codes, but I just wanted to point out that it wasn't only people being more critical who weren't giving the codes." So it turns out that not getting a review copy isn't exclusively reserved for critics. I mean, who would have thought that, right? It seems like the gatekeepers of game access are just as unpredictable as the weather. So maybe they're keeping a list of who's nice and who's naughty. Because we all know that's the most mature way to handle reviews. It's like we're back in high school, where the popular kids get the perks while everyone else just watches from the sidelines. I mean, clearly, positive reviews don't get you anywhere these days unless you're part of some secret club. But hey, who needs fairness, right? WolfartFPS responded saying, I understand that, and I did my research on this before posting. The point is, more so that everyone I know who was a critic did not get a code, with 2 of us being heavily involved in the party-based RPG scene. It's just not a good look. It is, however, a good look on the investor's side of the equation though. See, the only people getting codes are the ones who can barely muster a critical thought. Like, how refreshing. It's almost like they want the cheerleaders in the front row while the actual critics are left in the back, right? Like, it's almost comical how they keep playing favorites. Like, I can't wait to see how this good look pays off when the game turns out to be a hot mess. However, it looks like the investors will be happy while the rest of us are stuck shifting through the rubble of poorly marketed games. Like, you would think that they'd want honest feedback to improve things. But I guess that's too much to ask for when the shiny numbers are on the line. Siri NOA then shared her review of the game after 3.5 hours of play. So she wrote, terrible graphics, boring and monotonous combat. They want to copy God of War, but in a bad way. She continued, saying the game does not run at a constant 30 FPS. It drops and the screen freezes when there are many NPCs. Many of the dialogues are noticeably made with AI, very linear, and options lead nowhere, so false free will. The creator of the characters focus on the trans and LGBT community, she added, inclusive language and Spanish subtitles. It's almost like expecting Dragon Age to be the next God of War after just 3.5 hours of playtime. Like, it's a stretch. Like, I totally get her frustration with the graphics and the combat and the freezing issues, and it's disappointing to see a game struggle in such key areas. And the emphasis on inclusive language, while representation is important, I feel like they just missed the mark on delivering a solid gameplay experience here. So here's to hoping that they actually take these critiques to heart. Next, she wrote that the character move very robotic. They lack animation. The script doesn't make sense, neither do the quests. From one place to another, killing bugs. Too much focus on homosexuality, lesbians, drags, and race swap everywhere. She then summarized, it's a fucking piece of garbage as an RPG. Stay away from this game. Don't even buy it on sale. It's a pile of putrefaction, created by people who have no fucking idea about video games. Uninstalled already. Fuck your mother. Damn, tell me how you really feel. However, I completely agree. Robotic character movements and the lack of animation would make it feel lifeless. And it's hard to get immersed in a world where the characters seem like they're just going through the motions. The incoherent script and the disjointed quests are frustrating, which would make it feel like a chore to process. And honestly, the excessive focus on themes that don't resonate with the core gameplay only adds to the disappointment. Instead of enhancing the gaming experience, it feels forced and out of place. It's such a letdown for what should have been a solid RPG. It's definitely not worth anyone's time or money. In a subsequent post, she wrote, this game will be the tombstone of BioWare. Finally, she concluded, if they don't fix all the bugs before launch, coupled with the political agenda, this game will be shit. It's almost impressive how quickly BioWare embraced the let's release a game full of bugs and questionable agendas. Like, if they don't get these glitches sorted out before launch, we might as well start calling Dragon Age the Veilguard the epic fail. Like, at this point, it seems like they're more focused on delivering a political statement than creating a game that fans can actually enjoy. Here's to hoping they find a good bug exterminator before the big day, unless they're aiming for a comedy of errors instead. Like, however, those are my thoughts on this piece of garbage. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, before you go, subscribe to our channel, smash that like button, and ring the bell to be notified for our next video. As always, this is Est, and I'm signing off now. So I'll see you in the next one. Toodles!